The markets are closed, but the business stories are just heating up. Hello, I'm Mai Rodriguez. Catch up with us on Business Brief. Asian shares are trading higher as investors keep an eye on key earnings from AI giant Nvidia, which could shape near-term market sentiment. A sea of green dominates Asian markets, with China's Shanghai Composite leading the gains, up 0.3%. In currencies, the US dollar weakens against the Hong Kong dollar, while the Australian dollar also falls versus the greenback. Elsewhere, the dollar strengthens against most other Asian currencies. In commodities, gold slips 0.2%, while oil prices show mixed movements. In crypto, Bitcoin rises 0.4%, and Ethereum gains more than 1%. Arrested DPWH engineer Abelardo Calalo supposedly told Batangas Representative Leandro Leviste that former Congressman Eric Buhain chose winning contractors and received kickbacks in return. Leviste confirmed this in an interview on BNC's On Point.
Did the district engineer say that the previous administration ay tumatanggap?
Yes.
Sinabi po niya yon.
Actually, he said, in almost sweeping terms, lahat ng mga projects ay meron.
Meron. Sinabi ko niya si Congressman?
Yes, siya daw ang pumipili ng mga contractors. Yeah. The big fish really here is the district representative.
Si district engineer, sinabi ho diretso sa inyo na si dating congressman ay merong kickback?
Meron.
Sinabi lang meron. Hindi po ginagamit yung salitang...
May 10 to 20%.
While political motives may be alleged against Leviste, he says the evidence speaks for itself. He specifically cited the Binambang Riverbank Protection Project in Balayan, Batangas, where inspection revealed that only a 4-meter sheet pile was used when it called for 15 meters. The Philippines may face new tariffs after U.S. President Donald Trump renewed threats against countries taxing American tech firms. In a post on Truth Social, Trump warned nations with digital taxes could face substantial additional tariffs on their exports to the U.S. unless those measures are scrapped. The director of the Ateneo Center for Economic Research and Development, Sir Percival Peña-Reyes, says the Philippines could be hit as it imposes a 12% VAT on digital services. Republic Act 12023 applies the levy to non-resident providers like Netflix, Amazon, and Google, a move meant to level the playing field with local platforms. The risk now is whether this digital tax designed to boost fair competition becomes a new flashpoint in trade relations with the United States. Uncertainty over U.S. tariffs is cited as a key factor behind the slow growth forecast for the Philippine economy in the second half of the year. Jonathan Ravela, senior advisor at Reyes Tacondong and Company, tells BNC's Business 360. Many businesses may have opted to stay on the sidelines to foresee its impact on the economy. The Philippines is expected to post lackluster growth in the latter half. BMI, a Fitch Solutions company, adds spillover effects from the global slowdown are likely to weigh on growth. The economy is projected to expand by 5.4% this year, slightly below government's target of 5.5 to 6.5%.
At the same time, you have to remember we battled inflation, and pure and simple, the man on the street does not feel it in his wallet when you talk about growth.
Ravelas also notes this economic growth is not trickling down evenly to all sectors of society.
Unlike what we saw probably pre-pandemic, that people were seen to travel, consumer spending was at its peak at that time. And at the moment, we're not seeing the growth to really filter down. So it's certain areas, particularly those that are just like a little bit of consumer that is actually moving, but the rest, they're feeling the hit.
The Department of Information and Communications Technology launches a nationwide amnesty program for unregistered or colorum delivery service providers. This aims to fast-track their formalization and regulation. The DICT also opened an online portal for faster registration of delivery riders and operators. It calls on riders to avail of the program to avoid penalties or fines. Hong Kong is making a strong bid to attract Filipino business leaders, positioning itself as a gateway for trade, investment, and technology expansion into China and beyond. Officials are also touting a proposed double taxation avoidance agreement that they say could open new doors for Filipino companies looking to expand into Hong Kong. Sujin Kim with this report.
Hong Kong is making a strong pitch to Filipino businessmen and conglomerates. At the Manila Tech Summit, the Hong Kong Government Department for Foreign Direct Investments, or Invest HK officials, highlighted the territory's role as the Philippines' fifth largest trading partner, handling nearly a third of China-Philippines' trade through its ports. Negotiations are underway for a double taxation avoidance agreement, with the second round of talks set in October. Once sealed, the deal is expected to remove duplicate tax burdens and lower barriers for Filipino companies expanding into Hong Kong.
You just pay to the maximum in one way. I understand that for some countries that do not have a double taxation agreement with Hong Kong, they may need to file tax here and also file tax in the area that they make profit. But with this agreement, then there will be a cap to both sides and they will not be paying excess.
Beyond trade, Hong Kong is touting its competitive business climate, zero tariffs on most goods, a simple tax system with rates as low as 8.25% for small firms, and no capital controls. These growing partnerships are central as the countries navigate a more volatile global trade environment.
Despite the strange things going on in the world about tariffs and all that, it actually has made Asia gel together closer because we are determined to maintain a good relationship. We follow WTO. We want to focus on collaborative, as low barrier trade as possible. As a bloc, we are stronger together, right? So that we want to be able to assist each other and do more two-way trade flow, but also as a conduit.
Officials also stress the territory's global financial muscle, with a market cap nearing $5 trillion and a leading IPO market that attracts companies from as far as Saudi Arabia and Kazakhstan. Hong Kong is particularly wooing the Philippines' growing tech sector, encouraging startups and scale-ups to tap its venture capital network, stock exchange, and family office ecosystem.
We want them to make money. We want them to make a name of themselves outside of Philippines as well.
PCCI's Brian Ang adds the Philippines can also provide a steady supply of skilled professionals in IT, healthcare, and finance. And beyond financial services, 4 sectors are being prioritized for cross-border partnerships, including artificial intelligence, biotech, advanced materials and manufacturing, and fintech. Sujin Kim, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
Developing economies like the Philippines still face some of the highest trade barriers in importing clean technologies. The Asian Development Bank, in its key indicators for Asia and the Pacific, reported that average tariffs on green products hit 7.3% in low-income countries in 2022, compared to just 1.4% in high-income nations. The Manila-based lender says stronger trade facilitation is needed to improve access to green technologies in developing economies. The Australian unit of Ultra Bilyonaryo Enrique Razon's International Container Terminal Services Incorporated has struck a new enterprise agreement with local unions in Australia. This covers its workforce through March 2029. The deal, reached by Victoria International Container Terminal, provides improved employee benefits and operational flexibility to adapt to customer requirements. It will also provide a more secure industrial relations structure. Razon's ICTSI operates ports in more than 20 countries. We're taking a short break. More business stories are up next. You're watching Business Brief. The DICT is racing to finalize rules for the new Konektadong Pinoy law aimed at expanding internet access nationwide. Sujin Kim has this report. Go ahead, Sujin.
Yes, Mai, the Department of Information and Communications Technology is racing to finalize the implementing rules and regulations, with telcos, cable providers, and consumer groups all invited to take part. This follows the Konektadong Pinoy Act lapsing into law just this Sunday, aimed at expanding internet access nationwide and ensuring that every Filipino can connect. The law mandates infrastructure sharing, a provision that has drawn concerns from telecom giants including Globe and PLDT Smart. This morning, DICT Secretary Henry Aguda clarified with Bilyonaryo News Channel, however, the following.
Sharing doesn't mean free. Sharing means pwede mong i-rent, pwede mong i-rent, pwede mong i-lease out. And bakit natin ginagawa yan? Di ba nga nagkakaproblema sila na sabi nila mahal daw yung kapital na linagay nila sa paggawa ng infra. O di i-share nyo o ipa-rent nyo, di mas makakabawi kayo, di ba? Yun ang hindi ko rin maintindihan yun, di ba? Hindi ko maintindihan yun. Baka kasi iba yung pagkakaintindihan ng sharing. Sharing is not free.
He reaffirmed even that this move could help recover capital costs. And on the argument, PLDT Smart once said that there was discriminatory treatment in favor of data transmission providers, Aguda said there was none.
Yung IRR naman ngayon, sisiguraduhin natin kung may hindi level, ile-level natin. Now, when it comes to the telco, lahat yan stakeholder natin. Ayaw natin silang malugi. Yung bago at saka yung luma, ayaw natin malugi.
And while security has emerged as another flashpoint for industry players, raising fears that new entrants may operate without adequate clearance, Aguda also clarified with us that all companies will still be subject to existing reviews under the Securities and Exchange Commission, the National Telecommunications Commission, and the Cybercrime Interagency Coordinating Center, plus a requirement that both new and old telcos obtain international cybersecurity accreditation within 2 years. The law also mandates stronger consumer protections, including service-level agreements to prevent delays in addressing service issues and stricter enforcement against scams and cyber fraud. Despite industry pushback, Aguda says the intent of the law is also to attract more investment into the country's ICT sector. And those are latest updates from Taguig City. Back to you, Mai.
Thank you for that report, Sujin Kim. The Bangko Sentral is studying new rules to address risks from e-gambling. It warns the proliferation of illegal gambling sites could jeopardize the country's efforts to stay off the Financial Action Task Force gray list. The BSP has ordered e-wallet providers to take out in-app gambling features. The FATF removed the Philippines from its gray list last February after more than 3 years under tight monitoring. The next assessment is set for 2027. A unit of San Miguel Corporation has acquired 93.12 million pesos worth of shares in Meralco. In its disclosure, SMC says San Miguel Global Power Holdings Corporation purchased over 1 million common shares of the power utility from Land Bank. Data from the Philippine Stock Exchange show the shares were bought at 90 pesos each. The latest transaction increases SMGP's stake in Meralco to 3.8%, valued at around 3.9 billion pesos. RCBC has fully redeemed $300 million in outstanding capital securities. In its disclosure, the bank said these securities carried a 6.5% interest rate. Following the redemption, the securities will be canceled in accordance with their terms and delisted from the Singapore Exchange Securities Trading Limited. We're taking another breather. A look at how Philippine shares did today when we return. Stay tuned. In Texas, protests mar a job fair of the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, which aims to hire 1,000 personnel. New hires may qualify for a $50,000 signing bonus, which will come from Trump's Big Beautiful Bill. The event drew nearly 24 protesters who lashed out at Trump's strict enforcement policies.
Well, I'm a former flight attendant, and after resigning with my airline, I decided that that I really wanted to go into law enforcement. There's a lot of, I think that it's as a woman, I think that we need a lot of women representation, and as a Latino woman who speaks 4 languages, I think we need representation in our community to somewhat get the bad rap off of what's really going on, because ICE is great. They do a lot of great things.
The U.S. is in talks with more than a dozen companies on its plan to implement so-called most favored nation pricing on pharmaceutical drugs. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy revealed the negotiations Tuesday during a cabinet meeting. President Trump says drug prices in the U.S. remain far higher than in other countries, and he wants that gap closed. The pricing would mean the U.S. pays the lowest price that other countries are paying for the same medicine, instead of letting drug makers charge higher domestic rates. But it remains unclear how such a policy would be enforced or how it could impact supply chains and research costs for drug companies.
The cost of medicine all over the world is much cheaper than the United States, because for years the world pushed us around, including our friends. And you go to Germany, you go to England, you go to different places, and you go to a store, and it's sometimes 10% of what we pay in the United States, because they said, nope, we're not paying any more. You charge the United States. This went on for 25, 30 years. And I invoked favored nations. I said, I want to pay the same as they're paying.
We are deep into MFN negotiations, most favored nation status negotiations with 14 companies. Howard Lutnick is a breath of fresh air, and I think he's going to help us get across the finish line with the leverage that we have from tariffs.
Philippine shares bounced back into the green, returning to the 6,200 level ahead of the BSP policy meeting. The PSE index ended higher by over 2%, closing at 62.73, making it the best performer in Asia. Among sectoral indices, only holding firms finished in the red, while services rose the most, up nearly 4%. Advancers outpaced decliners 117 to 100, with total value turnover reaching 8.6 billion pesos. The day's most active stocks ended mixed, with ICTSI rising the most at over 7%, while SM Investments Corporation fell the most, down more than 1%. In the foreign exchange market, the peso is currently trading at 57.08 to the dollar, slightly weaker than its previous close of 57.07. Before we go, we're taking a moment to pay tribute to Judy Roxas, the mother of former Interior Secretary Mai Roxas and widow of former Senator Jerry Roxas, has passed away. She was 92. She is remembered for her commitment to family, her work with charitable foundations, and her support for a family long engaged in public service. Her story from Ivy Reyes.
A mother, philanthropist, and public servant, this is Judy Araneta, born on July 13, 1933 to Esther Bustamante and real estate developer J. Amado Araneta. Judith eventually tied a knot with late Senator Gerardo Jerry Roxas in 1955 and gave birth to Maria, Mar, and Dingoy. An advocate of social development, Judy was vice chair of the Araneta Group, which owns the prominent Araneta complex in Quezon City. She was also president of the non-governmental organization J. Amado Araneta, where she focused on education and culture and the arts. Judy also led the Jerry Roxas Foundation and continued what her late husband started. As former Senator Mar Roxas' mother, Judy was also a figure in Philippine politics. Her devotion to family is apparent in Mar's wife, Corina Sanchez Roxas' social media posts. Corina maintains her gratitude and respect for whom she had always called her idol mom. Judy passed on at the age of 92, but her memories remain alive and well in her family, the organization she headed, and the lives she touched. Ivy Reyes, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
That's a wrap for today's Business Brief. I'm Mai Rodriguez. Join us again tomorrow as we bring you the stories that help you plan your next big, bold moves in business. Only here on the Bilyonaryo News Channel. I'll see you then.